WCBI News at 6 starts now.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. A pedestrian was struck and killed by a vehicle in Lowndes County.
It happened around 7:30 last night. 29-year-old Craig Hauser was walking on Lee Stokes Road near the state line when a car exited off Highway 82 going north. According to Lowndes County Coroner Greg Merchant, Hauser was close to the exit when he was hit. He died at the scene. There's been no more information released on the driver. No criminal charges are expected.
Breaking news in the investigation of a deadly hit and run last night in Oktibbeha County. Investigators just released photos of the suspect's vehicle and a picture of a man deputies consider a person of interest. The images came from a gas station immediately following the crash. Deputies say a vehicle hit 23-year-old Deshante Nix on Old Highway 25. Monday night. Sheriff Steve Gladney says Nix was on a bicycle traveling in the southbound lane when a car in that lane hit his bike. The driver of that vehicle got out to check on the bicyclist who ended up in the northbound lane. That's when another car driving north ran over the cyclist and did not stop. That car is believed to be a yellow Scion.
There's going to be damage done to this vehicle, maybe to the right side or underneath the vehicle. So if you know anything, please contact us, because we need to find out who this person is.
Gladney says the suspect faces a charge of leaving the scene of an accident. He also says there could be other charges. Forensics has been a game changer for hit-and-run investigations. Crime scene investigators work these cases just like any other crime scene.
They're looking for evidence left behind and other signs that could narrow down leads for law enforcement. Our Jory Talley joins us in the studio now with more on these investigations.
When a vehicle flees a hit-and-run scene, it leaves investigators with no suspect and a wide-open case. When they can't follow the vehicle, they have to follow the evidence.
The first thing investigators will do is read the road.
The most obvious thing is going to be tire tracks. Unless the car can fly, there's going to be tire tracks left in some way, shape, or form. So we look for tire tracks that are usable for comparison purposes.
Violent crimes leave things like bullet casings, and in hit and runs, bits and pieces of cars and trucks provide the first clues.
That can extend to, of course, you know, the most popular paint chips, that kind of stuff, but also busted taillights, busted headlights, pieces of the car. All of that kind of help us put a puzzle together to determine at least what type of vehicle we were dealing with.
The process is not as easy as it may seem, and is far from what you see on TV shows like CSI.
To try to pull it up and just really grab an easy formula to identify that this went to this manufacturer or this paint manufacturer or type of car, it takes someone with a lot of skills to break it down to get to that.
For example, a paint chip from a car works much like human DNA.
Every manufacturer has its own specific paint codes, and with that, we formulate that, and there can be, with the exception of your basic black and white, there could be thousands of maroon colors, silvers.
You narrow it down from every car or truck imaginable down to at least, you know, a class of vehicles, say a Honda or a Toyota or, Ford pickup or something like that.
Shepard says he's worked dozens of hit-and-run cases, and forensics has helped him solve many of those and locate a suspect.
Jory Talley in our studio with that story. We have an update now to a story we first brought you last night at 10. Jackson police say the Verona woman claiming she was falsely accused of murdering a Jackson man is still considered a suspect in that case. Quashwena Martin and her attorney, Willie Allen, spoke with us yesterday. Martin was arrested and charged for the murder of Freddie Mosley earlier this month. Her attorney says Martin was falsely accused of the crime due to identity theft. Martin's charges have been remanded, meaning she could be brought back to court.
Yes, we have information to put her at the scene of the shooting.
Now, Jackson PD spokesman says once the investigation is complete, they will present their finding to the next grand jury. Meanwhile, one of the two others wanted for Mosley's homicide was arrested today in Kansas City. Samaya Reed is now in custody and awaiting extradition to Jackson. An alert homeowner saved Lee County deputies a little legwork. Monday morning, a resident on Palmetto Road called 911 saying that he had caught someone attempting to break into his vehicle. When deputies got there, the homeowner was holding the suspect at gunpoint. Zach Westbrook of Verona has been charged with burglary of a vehicle and giving false information. When Lee County deputies arrested Westbrook, he claimed he was 16 years old. Investigators later discovered that he's actually 20 and has a history of burglary. Neither the homeowner or the suspect was injured. Time to turn things over now to Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson for a first look at our forecast tonight.
It's been a very nice day. We still have a few isolated blips showing up on radar west of Oxford there along 278, a rogue shower. And across far southern Carroll County, well, actually slipping farther south right now. You can see that lone shower right there west of 55. But in general, most of our area enjoying a lot of sunshine right now. We are in the mid to upper 80s. It is a warm Tuesday afternoon. And over here in West Alabama and Vernon, basically clear. And that will set up a very nice evening. 80s now, and then mid 70s by 9, low 70s by 11. The full forecast is coming up.
Thanks, Keith. The future of OCH Regional Medical Center is up for discussion this afternoon in Starkville.
The Oktibbeha County Board of Supervisors meeting to announce the results of the Request for Proposals, or RFP, concerning the possible sale of the county-owned hospital.
Quentin Smith is there. He joins us now live with the very latest. Quentin.
That's right, Andrea. That special call meeting just wrapped up not too long ago after board members were looking at proposals in executive session for nearly 2 hours. Now, when the press release they issued after that meeting was over, the board agreed upon going along with selling OCH if that's what the voters choose on November 7th. And the board also has a few requirements for buyers to meet, including they must make at least $25 million a year after paying $35 million in hospital-related bond financing. They must also have a plan to retain existing employees and promote employee retention and stability. And the board did not tell me how many proposals they received today, but they did tell me the next step in this process is to have that referendum on November 7th. Reporting live in Starkville, Quentin Smith, WCBI News.
All right, thank you, Quentin. We'll continue to follow that story. Well, after a spirited 6-week campaign that has seen party heavy hitters, including the president and vice president, campaigning, the Yellowhammer State, Alabamians head to the polls in a Republican runoff for U.S. Senate. The race is between former Supreme Court Chief Justice Roy Moore and Senator Luther Strange. Vernon, Alabama voter precinct inspector Kathy Heatherly says voter registration is up and there's been a good bit of traffic at the polls.
Today's election has become, a popular issue, especially since President Trump came to Huntsville, and some other well-known, people, Sarah Palin and different ones, campaigning for the two candidates, and that has really sparked interest.
The winner faces Democratic nominee Doug Jones on December 12th.
Well, today happens to be voter registration day. Did you know that? A new statewide organization was getting out the word at Mississippi State today. Mississippi Votes is the name of this organization, traveling to areas across the state that typically have low voter turnout, informing people about the importance of local elections and how they can affect their everyday lives. But students are not the only target audience.
We're doing a lot of intergenerational stuff. We're trying to go to high schools. We are going to neighborhoods with low voter turnout. We are even trying to register ex-offenders. So all different types of people. We're trying to get people with low voter turnouts across the board, which are often young people registered to vote.
Mississippi Votes partnered with several campus organizations to help increase student voter turnout.
Nursing is an honored yet difficult field. I'm Victoria Bailey, and we take a look at the nurses who go above and beyond coming up.
Welcome back, everyone. Nurses are an important part of the healthcare system. They work around the clock to prevent illness and to promote health.
But the more severe a patient's condition, the more care they need. And our Victoria Bailey finds out that's where skilled nurses come in. She joins us live in the studio with more. Victoria.
Joey, Andrea, skilled nursing facilities usually house some of the most challenging long-term care patients. But after visiting one today, I learned not only are they a valuable asset to health care, there's so much more to them than meets the eye.
You have to be able to treat that person psychologically, spiritually, and physically, because to have the pie, you have to have all the pieces. And a good skilled nurse has those pieces.
Abby Hankins has been in the nursing field for nearly 4 decades now. She currently works at Generations of Vernon and says the care they provide is unlike any other healthcare facility.
We take them from an acute setting, from the hospital, whatever it may be, an illness, a disease, an accident, and we try to rehab them up to their highest potential, put them back out into the community.
Generations Marketing Director Carrie Stanford says many people believe skilled nursing facilities are just for the aging, but that couldn't be farther from the truth.
Bad things can happen to anybody, and we have had younger people in our facility that have had, they've had strokes at an early age, maybe a car accident, overdose of medication, and of course they have the after effects of all that. And we have helped to rehabilitate and watch them get to go home. It's not just for young, it's not for old, it's for who needs the help.
Skilled nurses address needs like rehabilitation, tube feeding, and wound dressing. But Hankins says the most important need they address is education.
If you can educate the families, because they don't get that education in a hospital, and sometimes it's for lifelong things, diabetes, having to give daily injections, pattern blood sugars, wound care. It alters your lifestyle. There's a lot of things that you're not going to do like you did, and if we can educate as many of the family as we can, that person has a better chance of making it back out into the community.
Now you can get more valuable information and resources at WCBI's Healthy Living for Seniors Expo. It's tomorrow, September 27th at Lee Mall in Columbus from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m.
Mainly clear tonight. We are mild, 67 degrees our forecast low average. Some spots a little bit cooler, some spots maybe a little bit warmer, but generally speaking above average tonight, and we stay warm tomorrow. More after the break.
Your First Alert Forecast with Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson.
A gorgeous sunset setting up here in downtown Tupelo, looking back to the west. Wow, look at that sight. Now, if you look closely, there are a few clouds there. A distant shower way to the west of Oxford. We've had a few blips out there, but generally speaking, not a lot going on today. Let's talk about Tupelo and your temperature roller coaster so far this month. The first 14 days, we were averaging about 8 degrees below the average. The last 11 days, about 7 degrees above the average. So we have been jerked back and forth here, and it looks like we will be on the warmer side of the equation as we round out, excuse me, as we round out this month of September. All right, Wednesday, 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. That's what it is, 8 o'clock, 71 degrees, getting all choked up here. By noon, 86, partly cloudy, 90 at 4 o'clock. It's going to be a pretty nice day on Wednesday. Very similar to the day we just had today, upper 80s to the low 90s here for our Wednesday. These are current numbers: 86 in Tupelo, 87 in Columbus, 86 in Starkville, and Louisville, 88, Macon, 84 in Winona. You had a little bit of a shower out your way earlier today, hence the slightly cooler temperature. Some 60s and 50s out here across the high plains. There's fall right here. If you want fall, go back to the northwest. 62 in Denver right now. We are smack dab in summer. It's still summer down here in the deep south. Even though it's fall, it still feels and looks like summer out there. Showers out here across the high plains, Wichita down through Oklahoma City and Austin and San Antonio. This looks promising, right? It looks like it's generally progressing to the east. It is, the front is, but that moisture, not so much. The moisture will really go away. Can't rule out an isolated shower Wednesday or Thursday, but essentially dry through the weekend into next week. Maybe another week or two, if not more, before any significant moisture in our area. You can see the rain out west here this evening. Really won't be advancing our way. The front will move on through sometime late tomorrow into early Thursday, so that will usher in some northerly breezes, some drier air, not as muggy later this week, but I don't really think we're going to see a lot of rainfall around here, and we'll have another reinforcing shot of some cooler air as we get into the weekend. So here's Maria, now a tropical storm. It is kicking up some high surf there across the eastern part of the country, but generally speaking, it'll be rolling out to sea. All right, here's our 7-day. You can see 90 tomorrow, 85 Thursday, 81 on Friday. Great weather for this weekend outdoor activities. Highs around 80, lows into the 50s. We'll warm it up again next week.
Coming up, Alabama gears up for their matchup with Ole Miss in Tuscaloosa, and a significant story in college basketball recruiting from today. That's next in sports.
WCBI Sports with Robbie Donahoe is brought to you by your local Ford dealers. Go further.
Well, a bombshell was dropped by the Federal Bureau of Investigation on college basketball today as the FBI formally announced that corruption and fraud charges were levied against assistant basketball coaches from Auburn, Arizona, Oklahoma State, and USC, plus the director of global sports marketing at Adidas, Jim Gatto. Now, the Auburn assistant that is charged is former NBA All-Star Chuck Person. Federal law enforcement officials still expected to arrest at least a half a dozen people and continue investigations into alleged bribery and kickback schemes at other programs. Switching gears now to college football, and the top-ranked Tide of Alabama riding high following that blowout win over the upstart Vanderbilt Commodores. But Nick Saban hopes that dominating performance will roll over into Saturday as Bama hosts Ole Miss, and the head coach still doesn't forget what happened in recent years against the Rebels.
This is a team that has, beat us twice, 2 out of the last 3 years, and we played some really shootout kind of games with them, and they've had 2 really good wins this year, and 4th nationally in passing, make a lot of explosive plays, really good quarterback, probably the best group of receivers collectively we played against all year. Very disruptive on defense in terms of the way they play. This will be a real challenging game for us in a lot of different ways, and try to do the best we can to get our players ready to play even better this week.
At Auburn, the Tigers are gearing up for what Gus Malzahn calls a very good Mississippi State team. Malzahn mentioned the past close games against MSU and their solid defense and dual-threat quarterback Nick Fitzgerald. Auburn thrashed Missouri last week, 51-14. As you see, Kerryon Johnson had 5 rushing touchdowns in the victory. All of them came out of the Wildcat formation, basically. Auburn is 3-1 on the year following that win in Columbia. Their only loss in the season was a road defeat at Clemson. And this will be Auburn's SEC opener on the Plains against Mississippi State. And there's a chance that the Tigers could have Cameron Petway back for the game. As Gus Malzahn says, he is probable for the matchup against the Bulldogs. That game will be a 5 p.m. kickoff time from Auburn. It'll be on ESPN. We start things off early at 11 a.m. with Vanderbilt, Florida. We'll have Georgia, Tennessee for you here on WCVI. If it's anything like the game was last year, you're probably going to want to tune in for that one because Hail Marys and long passes could be all over the place to decide that one. And then that Ole Miss-Bama game will be a late night one, 8 p.m. on ESPN from Tuscaloosa. Our Tom Ebo will be at Bryant-Denny for that game and have more coming up Saturday nights, Sunday morning. It's going to be a late night for him in Tuscaloosa, but it's football. You got to love it. High school football, our game of the week, locked in with the Maroon Bowl this Friday, but Week 7 promises to be one of the best weeks of prep pigskin to date. Here are the newest AP high school football polls just released a couple hours ago. West Point got 12 of 15 first place votes this week as your #1 team in the state for yet another week. Tupelo and Starkville are inside the top 5. Northwest Rankin is the new team in the bunch at 10 after defeating Warren Central last week. 6A top 5, nothing really changes. Tupelo and Starkville still in at 2 and 3. In the 5A top 5, it's still West Point. For some reason, there's someone that thinks Cleveland Central is the best team in 5A. I'm not sure what you've been watching. In Class 4A, Pontotoc and Louisville are 3 and 4, with Itawamba getting votes. In 3A, South Pontotoc still getting votes, but still not in the top 5. In 2A, East Webster's at 5, Calhoun City's at 2, Eupora just receiving votes. Eupora got in my poll this week in the AP poll. And then 1A, nothing changed. It's still Simmons, Native Wyatt, Lumberton, Smithville, Knox Pater. If you missed any of this, it's all online on our website right now, WCBI.com.
Green Wave's taking names, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're really good.
It'll be tough to beat them. All right, we'll be right back.
All right, we're on the easy street here if you like quiet weather. Maybe an isolated shower or two Wednesday and Thursday, but in general, not a lot going on here. It will be a little bit cooler this weekend, though, not as hot.
We do like quiet weather.
We do.
And 50s.
It makes your day like boring though, doesn't it?
Oh,
You're
no.
just staring at the maps all day.
No, we're working here.
All right, thanks for joining us, everybody.